Hello friends, welcome back in this session. So in this session we going to discuss about the EBS, elastic block storage. What is elastic block storage, that we'll learn, the types of elastic block storage that we'll see, and at the end we will also see the demonstration for the EBS. So let's start. So first we will see the definition for the EBS. So basically Amazon EBS allows you to create storage volume and that attach them to the EC2 instance. Once attached, you can create a file system on top of this volume, run a database, or use them in any other way you want to use, like a block device. Amazon EBS volume are placed in a specific orbital zone where they are automatically replicated to the protect your from failure to one single component. So Amazon EBS is a storage system where you can attach that volume to your EC2 instance, and if you want to run a specific database or you want to preserve your data, you can use this EBS. Let's move on. So EC2 instance lose its root volume when it terminates. This you have might observe once you terminate your EC2 instance, it basically remove its attached root volume. So this is a root volume, it's a nothing but it's a EBS volume only, but it's basically removing its your root volume. So while you terminate your EC2 instance and your root volume will be deleted. So in case of any unexpected termination, sometimes Amazon also do they will share the information, but in that particular termination you can lose your data. So here the question, sometimes we need a separate storage for your instance data. So it's kind of your additional drive. So in your Windows system, you make a C drive, D drive for the specific your data storage. Same as you make the network storage drive for the your backup constraint. So EBS volume, it's nothing a network drive which you can attach to your instance. It's allowed to instance your persist data, same which we discussed. So root volume, additionally will attach the EBS volume that is located in the network drive, and your data will be persist in the EBS volume. It's basically disk in a cloud, simple. So EBS volume, it's not your physical disk, it's a network drive, it's not physically. So in case of your physical drive, that make your communication the bit faster, but here it's a network drive, the communication can add a latency while data driving. So this will basically we have to keep in mind, because this is a not physical drive, it's a network drive. So can be detached to one instance and can attach to another instance. So if you want to detach from the one instance, and the same if you want to attach to the another instance, so this can be movable. So your data, it's a persist in the EBS volume, but if you want to attach that data in the another instance, you can simple that you can do. You can have your OS database installed as we discussed. EBS you can install also your OS and database. Multiple EBS device can attach to the single EC2 instance, but the EBS volume cannot attach to the multiple instance. So that's you have to keep in mind, because the same question can ask your interview, or it could be possible for your AWS exam. So one more point of EBS which we have to make sure, that's a EBS basically have the region limitation, orbital zone limitation, where it's basically locked to the one particular orbital zone. So in a one orbital zone, your EBS volume cannot move directly to the another orbital zone. Even you cannot use in another orbital zone. Though there is a way how we can use, that we'll see in practical session. So EBS in US East 1A cannot attach to the in US East 1B. To move across, you need a snapshot. So you can create snapshot, then you can create image, and you can move to the another your abilities one that will completely see in our demo section. So provisional capacity, size in GB and IOPS. So the calculation of EBS, it's a size, and the IOPS, so that's a measurement for the EBS volume, and the costing of this EBS volume, that basically calculated based on the provisional capacity, not whatever you use. So you can increase the capacity of your drive while loading to EBS, or once it's created, you can resize your EBS also. So if you see the graphical, so this is the one US East 1A and US East 1B availability zone having the 3 instance and having the 2 instance. So US East 1A EBS volume cannot directly attach to the US East 1B, though there is no any EBS. So that's a 2 EBS volume can attach to the single EC2 instance. So this is the graphical representation for the EBS volume. So let's move for the EBS volume type. So there are 5 major EBS volume types. The first one is the general purpose SSD. So this called the GP2 as a type. So GP2 basically it's a SSD, and basically it's used for the balance in the price and performance, and which is widely used for the different workload, normal workload also. Provisional IOPS, that's again SSD type. So code is IU01. Basically it's used for the high performance of SSD volume for the mission critical, and where is absolutely low latency required and high throughput workload. So general purpose will use for average performance, where you need a performance at a standard level, but if you need a very high performance, you should use the provisional IOPS. Then throughput optimize, this is the hard drive, it's HD1. So low cost HDD, so this is basically low cost comparative to the SSD and designed for the very frequent access. So next volume is the cold HDD. So this is a cold hard drive. Code is the SC1. So it's a low cost HDD volume and designed for the less frequently accessed workload. And the last one is the magnetic, and the volume type, the name is a standard. That's a previous generation volume type. So magnetic volume are basically backed by the magnetic drive and are suited for the workload where the data is accessed infrequently, and the scenario where the low cost storage, small volume size is basically important here. So these 5 types is the basically EBS volume type. If you see the comparison with the different parameters, like the use case of most workload, that's a normal workload for the general purpose SSD, if you see, and for provisional IOPS, that's basically database, their frequency and where you require the very low latency. The throughput optimized hard drive, so big data analysis and data warehouse, which you can use here, and the cold HDD, that's a normally file server you can use, and magnetic, so workload where data is infrequently accessed, so there is a less access of the workload. API name is already we discussed. Volume size 1 zip to 16 TB, that's for the general purpose SSD. Provisional SSD, that's a 4 gig to 16 gig TB. Throughput optimized, that's a 50 GB to 16 TB. Cold HDD, that's a 500 GB to the 16 TB, and magnetic 1 GB to 1 TB. IOPS is the more important here. So general purpose SSD IOPS is 16,000. Provisional IOPS is 64,000. This is the max IOPS. Throughput HDD, that's a 500 IOPS. Cold HDD, that's a 250 IOPS, and magnetic is 40 to the 200. So where you will find the more IOPS throughput with the SSD, and the less you get with the hard drive. So these are the different volume type comparison and we will see how we can create the different volume type from the EC2 console.